What if, as you wake up tomorrow, the sun decides to remind us just how tiny and fragile we are? Imagine pulling back your curtains. It looks like any other day, except your phone isn't picking up any signal. The TV is frozen on the news anchor's face. The lights flicker, die. And outside, the world is silent. Not the comforting quiet of dawn, but an eerie, unnatural stillness. It starts a day earlier, far from anything you'd notice. There's a restless dance on the sun's surface. A sunspot darker than its surroundings, bubbles and boils, twisting magnetic fields tighter and tighter like the winding of a spring. Space telescopes catch it. A solar flare so powerful it outshines everything else in the sky, even if only for a moment. But that's just the prelude. Less than a heartbeat later, 1 billion tons of charged solar gas hurtle out from the sun in a colossal wave. A coronal mass ejection. It screams across the vacuum of space, carrying the sun's rage outward at millions of kilometers per hour. And this time, its aim is dead on, straight at our home. For a day, satellites in orbit start whispering warnings to ground stations. Scientists scramble, their screens lit by the flicker of data, magnetic fields convulsing, plasma moving too fast to track. They've seen storms before, but nothing like this. It's only after 18 hours, a span so brief on a cosmic scale, that the storm slams into Earth's magnetic field. From the outside, there's a sudden, dazzling show. Auroras, painted in reds and greens, stretching over cities that have never seen them before. But hidden behind the lights, chaos blooms. The magnetic shield that usually cocoons our planet is battered, warped, as if it's being punched by an invisible fist. Invisible currents cascade across continents, setting off tripped circuit breakers and melting transformers. Power grids begin to groan. Then, one after another, they collapse. It doesn't matter where you are, urban city, quiet suburb, remote countryside. Lights flicker out, one by one, until the only glow left is the unnatural shimmer of auroras above, a beauty masking disaster. Air traffic controllers look up helpless as navigation systems spiral into confusion. Pilots watch their instrument panels blink and scramble. Hundreds of flights are suddenly lost in a sea of static, their pilots reliant on old-fashioned sight alone. Aboard the International Space Station, astronauts peer down at Earth just as the station jerks under the bombardment of charged particles. Their computers sputter. High-energy electrons ripple through the hull. They huddle in thick-walled safe zones, hoping the storm will spit them back into sunlight, unharmed. On the ground, it's not just the power that's gone. Communication grinds to a halt. Phones are lifeless. Internet is a memory. Across continents, people stare at dead screens and realize how quickly civilization can unravel. How much depends on a grid most have never seen and rarely thought about. But the full impact, it has only just begun to unfold. 3 days have now passed since the storm began, and the world is starting to realize that this blackout isn't ending anytime soon. Emergency generators roar to life in hospitals and data centers, straining against demand. Lines form outside grocery stores, but credit cards are useless. Cash is the only thing that matters now. Some people try to drive out of the cities, but the traffic lights are dead. And soon so are many of the cars, fried by the electric surge. Up above, satellites hang like silent stones in orbit. Their delicate electronics, built for the thin protection of space, have been scorched by the onslaught, one after another winking out as their circuits cascade into darkness. Airplanes stay grounded not by weather but by a sun angry and unpredictable. The world falls into a strange, uneasy rhythm. One that feels more like the 19th century than the 21st. Radio operators, the rare few who still have equipment shielded from the storm, become lifelines across nations, tapping out Morse code messages to isolated towns. Families gather around battery-powered lanterns, listening for news in the crackle of static. But as night falls for the 4th time, a new problem emerges. Water. Cities rely on electric pumps to move water through pipes and into homes. Without power, reservoirs begin to run dry. At first, it's just a trickle from the faucet. Then, nothing. People queue with buckets, searching for any source of fresh water they can find. With each passing day, the modern conveniences everyone took for granted fade further into memory. The loss isn't just electricity or phones, but safety, order, and trust. Crime rises as darkness settles over neighborhoods that once felt familiar. Some communities band together, forming makeshift patrols, organizing supplies, sharing what little they have. Meanwhile, scientists and engineers work furiously in darkened control rooms and university basements, desperate to assess the damage and chart a path forward. They know, better than anyone else, that the effects of a solar storm like this can linger for months, even years. Power grids can be rebuilt, but satellites take time. And some never come back. No one knows exactly how long it will take to recover. There is no switch to flip, no easy fix. The sun, indifferent and eternal, continues to blaze overhead, reminding humanity of its place in the cosmos. Clever, resourceful, but always vulnerable to the whims of something so much larger. In a world suddenly thrown into shadow, people are forced to look up. Not for answers, but in awe, realizing just how thin the line is between the calm of daily life and disaster, and how even a little reminder from the sun can change everything.